Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the screen. The stars looked the same as always, but today something was different. His communication officer turned around with wide eyes. "Captain, we are getting a signal." "It is not from Earth," Ben Taylor said. His voice shook a little. Jake walked over to Ben's station. The signal was strong and clear. It was not like anything they had seen before. The patterns were too perfect to be natural. "Can you decode it?" Jake asked. "I think so, sir. Give me a few minutes." Ben's fingers moved fast over his keyboard. The ship Titan's Edge was far from home. They were exploring new areas of space when this happened. Jake had been captain for 5 years. He had never seen anything like this. Lisa Parker, the chief science officer, came running to the bridge. She looked excited and scared at the same time. "Captain, the sensors are picking up something huge coming our way," she said. Jake looked at the main screen. A dot appeared in the distance. It grew bigger very fast. Soon they could see it was a ship, but it was not like any human ship. It was 10 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. "My God," Ben whispered. "The signal is coming from that ship." The alien ship was beautiful and scary. It was silver and smooth with no sharp edges. It glowed with a soft blue light. It got closer. Jake could see smaller ships flying around it like bees around a hive. "Captain, they are trying to talk to us," Ben said. He put the signal on the speakers. A voice filled the bridge. It spoke perfect English with no accent. "Human vessel Titan's Edge. This is Ambassador Veltar of the Zephyrian Empire. Come in peace. We wish to meet with your leaders." Jake felt his heart beat fast. This was first contact. Humans had dreamed of this moment for hundreds of years. He cleared his throat and pressed the communication button. "Ambassador Veltar, this is Captain Jake Morrison. Welcome. We are honored to meet you." "The honor is ours, Captain Morrison. We have been watching your species for many years. You've impressed us with your curiosity and drive to explore. We would like to invite you and your senior officers aboard our ship to discuss the future." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "This is incredible," she whispered. "They have been watching us." Jake thought for a moment. This could be dangerous, but it was also the most important moment in human history. "We accept your invitation, Ambassador Excellent. Please bring your science officer and 2 others. We will transport you to our ship in 1 hour. The screen went dark. The bridge was quiet. For a long moment, "Ben, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them what happened." "Send all the data we have," Jake said. "Already doing it, sir," Ben replied. Lisa was still staring at the alien ship. "Jake, what if this is a trap? Then we will deal with it. But this might be humanity's chance to join. Something bigger than ourselves." An hour later, Jake stood in the transport room with Lisa, Ben, and engineer Ray Collins. They did not know what to expect. A bright light filled the room, and suddenly they were somewhere else. They stood in a large room with white walls that seemed to glow from inside. The air smelled clean and fresh. 3 aliens walked toward them. The aliens looked almost human, but taller and thinner. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were larger than human eyes. They wore simple white clothes that seemed to be made of light. "Welcome aboard the Eternal Dawn," said the alien in front. "I am Ambassador Veltar. These are my assistants, Morith and Zindel." Jake stepped forward. "Thank you for having us. This is an honor for all humanity." Veltar smiled. His teeth were white and perfect. "Come, let us show you our ship. There is much to discuss." They walked through corridors that curved in impossible ways. The walls showed pictures of beautiful worlds and strange creatures. Everything was clean and perfect. "Your ship is amazing," Lisa said. "How does it work?" "We use energy in ways your science has not yet discovered," Morith explained. "But do not worry. We will teach you if you prove worthy." They entered a huge room with a transparent dome ceiling. Above them, they could see stars and space. In the center of the room was a table with chairs that seemed to be made of crystal. "Please sit," Veltar said. "We have much to discuss." They sat. Jake noticed more aliens entering the room. They all looked similar to Veltar, but wore different colored clothes. Some carried devices that Jake did not recognize. Captain Morrison, Veltar began, we have been watching your species. For 67 years, we have studied your wars, your peace, your art, and your science. You are a remarkable species, but also a dangerous one. Dangerous? Jake asked. Your species has a talent for violence that concerns us. You turn everything into weapons. Even your peaceful tools can become instruments of war. This worries the Galactic Collective. Lisa leaned forward.
Ow.
The Galactic Collective. An alliance of peaceful species that work together for the good of all. We maintain order and peace in this part of the galaxy. We would like to invite humanity to join us. Jake felt excited. This was what humans had always dreamed of. What would membership require? Veltar's expression became serious. First, you must surrender all weapons. Every gun, every missile, every weapon of war. Second, you must accept our guidance in all matters of conflict. We will help you resolve disputes peacefully. Surrender our weapons. Ray Collins spoke for the first time. All of them. Yes. Violence has no place in a civilized galaxy. The collective has been at peace for over 1,000 years because we learned this truth. Jake felt uncomfortable. Ambassador, humanity values peace, but we also value our independence. We have learned that sometimes weapons are necessary for defense. Veltar stood up. The other aliens in the room moved closer. Captain, I am afraid you do not understand. This is not a request. The air in the room suddenly felt heavy. Jake looked around and saw that the aliens were no longer smiling. Positioned orbital weapons platforms around your home world, Veltar continued. They are invisible to your technology and capable of destroying your entire planet. You have 72 hours to convince your leaders to accept our terms. Jake stood up fast, his chair falling backward. You are threatening to destroy Earth? Threatening, Captain. Promising. We have done this 43 times before. Sometimes primitive species need help making the right choice. Every species we have helped in this way has thanked us later. Lisa's face was pale. You have destroyed 43 worlds. Oh no, Dr. Parker. We have saved 43 species from their own violent nature. Most surrender peacefully once they understand the situation. Only 7 chose to fight, and they learned the error of their ways quickly. Ben reached for his communication device, but it would not work. They are jamming our signals, he said.
4.
Now yes, Veltar said. We cannot allow you to coordinate any foolish resistance. Your weapons are primitive compared to ours. Your strongest bombs are like firecrackers compared to our power. Jake felt anger building inside him, so you destroy civilizations to save them. We integrate them into the collective. Those who resist are removed for the greater good. It is a small price to pay for galactic peace. Armed aliens entered the room. They carried weapons that glowed with the same blue light as the ship. You will remain here as our guests while your people make their decision, Veltar said. We find that having representatives aboard our ship encourages cooperation. Jake looked at his team. Ben was trying to fix his communication device. Lisa was studying the aliens' weapons. Ray was looking at the room's walls and ceiling like he was memorizing every detail. Ambassador, Jake said calmly, you have studied humanity for 67 years, but I don't think you understand us at all. Veltar laughed. Captain, we understand you perfectly. You're a violent species that needs guidance. In time, you will see the wisdom of our ways. As the armed aliens escorted them to their quarters, Jake caught Ben's eye. The communication officer nodded slightly. He had managed to send something before the jamming started, in their locked room. Jake looked out at the stars and thought about Earth. Somewhere down there, Admiral Kate Sullivan would be getting Ben's message. She would be preparing humanity. For war, Jake smiled grimly. The aliens thought they knew humans. They were about to learn how wrong they were. In human hands, anything could be a weapon. Even their own overconfidence. Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the earth. The message from Captain Morrison had arrived 3 hours ago. Now the most important people in the world sat around the table looking worried. Let me make sure I understand. This, said General Paul Martinez. He was in charge of the Army Corps of Engineers. Aliens have surrounded Earth with invisible weapons. They want us to give up all our guns and bombs. If we say no, they will destroy the planet. That is correct, Kate said. They have given us 72 hours to decide. Dr. Helen Wright, the head of the physics department, looked at her notes. According to Morrison's data, their technology is based on energy fields and plasma weapons. Our bullets and missiles will not work against their shields, so we are helpless? Asked General Martinez. Not helpless. Different, Kate replied. These aliens think they know us. They studied our wars and our weapons. They only saw what we wanted them to see. Outside the meeting room, a man in a janitor's uniform was emptying trash cans. His name was Carl Jenkins. He had worked in the building for 2 years. Before that, he had worked in construction and demolition. He knew how to make things explode. Carl was not supposed to listen to secret meetings. But when he heard the word aliens, he could not help himself. Pressed his ear to the door. Inside, Dr. Wright was explaining the problem. Their shields work by deflecting solid objects and absorbing energy attacks. But every defense has a weakness. What kind of weakness? Kate asked. I need more time to study the data. But it looks like their technology uses specific frequencies. If we could disrupt those frequencies, their shields might fail. Carl had heard enough. He knocked on the door. Come in, Kate called. Carl opened the door slowly. Everyone stared at him. Sorry to bother you, ma'am. I was just cleaning outside. I could not help but hear about the aliens. You should not be listening to classified information, General Martinez said angrily. Wait, Kate said. What is your name? Carl Jenkins, ma'am. I cleaned the building. But before this job, I worked in demolition. I blew up old buildings for a living. Dr. Wright looked interested. What did you hear that made you want to talk to us? Carl stepped into the room. You said their shields use frequencies, right? Like electrical stuff? Yes, that is correct. Well, when I worked demolition, we had problems with electrical systems. All the time. Sometimes our equipment would interfere with radios and computers. We learned that if you generate the right kind of electrical noise, you can mess up any electronic system. Dr. Wright sat up straight. Go on. The thing is, you do not need fancy equipment to make electrical noise. I once shut down a whole city block's internet just by running my microwave at the same time as my neighbor's welding equipment. Kate looked at the others around the table. Are you saying we could fight advanced alien technology with household appliances? Maybe, Carl said. If their shields work like electrical circuits, then yeah. You just need to find the right frequency and hit them with enough interference. Dr. Wright was already writing notes. This could work. We could identify their operating frequencies and generate enough electromagnetic interference. We might be able to overload their systems. But how do we test this? General Martinez asked. We do not have any alien technology to practice on. We do have Morrison's sensor data, Dr. Wright said. Kate stood out ours left. Kate stood up. Dr. Wright, I want you to lead a team to study this idea. General Martinez, I need you to start thinking about how to mass-produce whatever Dr. Wright comes up with. What about me? Carl asked. You are now part of Dr. Wright's team. Congratulations on your promotion. The next day, Dr. Wright's lab was full of strange activity. Scientists worked next to construction workers and electricians. Carl had brought his friend Sam Rodriguez, who was an engineer at the local factory. Look at this, Sam said, pointing to a device on the workbench. I modified my garage door opener to broadcast on the frequencies Dr. Wright identified. It is not powerful enough to hurt anyone, but it makes my neighbor's Wi-Fi go crazy. Dr. Wright tested the device. This is perfect. The frequency pattern matches what we need. How fast can your factory make these? If we work around the clock, maybe 1,000 units in 2 days. That is not enough. We need millions. Carl had an idea. What if we do not make them in factories? What if we teach regular people to make them at home? From what materials? Dr. Wright asked. Stuff everyone has. Microwave ovens, car radios, garage door openers, cell phones. I bet most people have enough electronic junk in their houses to build one of these things. Dr. Wright looked excited. Carl, You might be right. We could distribute the plans over the internet. Every person could build their own device. Meanwhile, across the country, other people were having similar ideas. In Houston, high school chemistry teacher Martha Davis was mixing cleaning supplies in her garage. She had heard the president's speech about the alien threat on television. If they want to fight, they will get one, she said to herself. The mixture in her beaker was turning an interesting color in Detroit. Factory worker Tim O'Brien was looking at the electromagnetic coils in his workplace. If I could modify these to work with car batteries, he thought, I could make a portable magnetic field generator. In California, 12-year-old Amy Foster was working on her science fair project about radio waves. She did not know that her research would soon help save the world. All over Earth, ordinary people were starting to think about the problem in their own ways. They did not have fancy weapons or military training, but they had something else. They had the human ability to look at everyday objects and see weapons. Back in the underground facility, Kate was coordinating the largest emergency project in human history. Phone calls went out to every scientist, engineer, teacher, and inventor in the world. We need ideas, she told them. Any ideas? No matter how crazy they sound? The response was incredible. Within hours, thousands of suggestions poured in. Most were useless. Some were brilliant. A retired NASA engineer suggested using batteries and copper wire to create electromagnetic pulse generators. A high school physics teacher explained how to turn leaf blowers into projectile weapons. A grandmother from Iowa sent plans for explosive devices made from common household chemicals. Dr. Wright was amazed. I have never seen anything like this. People are inventing new weapons faster than I can test them. Humans are creative when they are scared, Kate replied. And right now, we are very scared. The alien deadline was approaching fast. In 36 hours, the Zephyrian fleet would attack if humanity did not surrender. But something was happening that the aliens had not expected. Humans were not just building weapons. They were sharing ideas. The internet was full of videos showing people how to modify their electronics. Forums were filled with discussions about frequencies and electromagnetic fields. Social media was spreading weapon designs faster than any. Government could. Carl stood in front of a television camera at the emergency broadcast center. My fellow humans, he said, the aliens think they know us. They think we are just soldiers with guns and bombs. They are wrong. He held up a device, made from a microwave oven, a car radio, and some copper wire. This cost me $30 to build from parts I bought at the hardware store. According to Dr. Wright's tests, it can disrupt their shield technology. He paused and looked directly into the camera. In human hands, anything can be weaponized. Even a microwave oven. Around the world, people were watching. They were scared, but they were also angry. The aliens had threatened their families, their children, their home. That was a mistake. In garages and basements and schools and factories, millions of humans were turning ordinary objects into weapons. They were not soldiers, but they were something else. They were humans who had been pushed too far. Kate looked at the reports coming in from around the world. Weapon production was exceeding all expectations. But would it be enough? Admiral. Dr. Wright said, I am getting reports of successful tests from every continent. The interference devices work. If we can coordinate them properly, we might have a chance. What about delivery systems? Kate asked. That is the beautiful part, Carl said with a grin. We do not need missiles or bombs. Every human can carry one of these devices. Every car can transport them. Every building can hide them. The aliens will be facing 7 billion weapons disguised as everyday objects. Kate smiled for the first time in days. Then let's give them a fight they will never forget. The 72 hours were over. Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge of his ship and looked down at Earth. The blue planet looked peaceful from space. Soon it would learn the price of defying the Zephyrian Empire. Have the humans responded to our ultimatum? He asked his aide. Yes, Ambassador. Their leader sent a message 1 hour ago. They refused to surrender. Veltar was not surprised. Primitive species often chose the hard path very well. Begin the invasion. Target their major cities first. Once they see our power, the survivors will be more reasonable. On Earth, the countdown had reached 0. In cities around the world, people looked up at the sky and waited. Then they saw them. Huge silver ships appeared in the clouds above New York, London, Tokyo, and Moscow. The ships were beautiful and terrible at the same time. In New York, subway worker Rico Gonzalez was in the underground tunnels. He had spent the last 2 days modifying the big fans that moved air through the subway system.
Oh, those fans were...
Ready for something else? This is it, he said into his radio. All units, the aliens are here. Above ground, the Zephyrian ships began to descend. Their blue shields glowed as they prepared to land. Veltar was aboard the lead ship, confident that the humans would surrender quickly. But something was wrong. As the ships got lower, their instruments started acting strange. Navigation systems flickered. Communication arrays went silent for a few seconds at a time. What is happening? Veltar demanded. Unknown interference, sir. It appears to be coming from the city below. In the subway tunnels, Rico activated his modified fans. Instead of moving air, they now generated powerful electromagnetic pulses. The waves rose up through the streets and hit the alien ships. The effect was immediate. The lead ship's shield flickered and failed for 3 seconds. That was long enough. All over the city, humans emerged from buildings carrying their improvised weapons. They looked like ordinary people with ordinary objects. Those objects had been changed. Librarian Nancy Clark ran out of the public library, carrying what looked like a backpack. Inside were 30 cell phones, all modified to broadcast on the alien frequencies. She activated them all at once. The nearest alien ship shuddered as its systems overloaded. Warning lights flashed inside. The bridge. Impossible, Veltar said. Their technology is primitive. How are they affecting our shields? This question was answered when a child ran into the street. The boy was maybe 10 years old. He carried a slingshot and a bag of metal balls. The balls had been coated with a special compound by Marina Torres, who made jewelry for a living. The boy loaded his slingshot and fired at the ship overhead. The metal ball hit the ship's hull and exploded in a shower of sparks. The compound Marina had used created a localized electromagnetic burst. Suddenly, every human in the city was attacking. They were not using guns or missiles. They were using modified kitchen appliances, rewired car parts, and chemicals mixed. In garage laboratories, pizza delivery driver Joey Parker drove through the streets on his motorcycle. His thermal delivery bags were now filled with Dr. Wright's frequency disruptors. Every time he stopped, he would activate one and leave it in the street. The alien ships tried to fight back, but their weapons could not target effectively. Their sensors were being jammed by thousands of small devices. Their communications were disrupted by modified radios and televisions. This is chaos, Veltar said. His perfect battle plan was falling apart. How can primitives with household items threaten our technology? The same scene was happening in cities around the world. In London, pensioner Alfred Hughes used his garden sprinkler system to spread disruptor compounds across several city blocks. The chemicals made it impossible for alien technology to function in that area. In Tokyo, shop owner Kenji Tanaka had modified pachinko machines to fire electromagnetic pellets at incredible speed. The pellets overloaded alien sensors and caused their targeting systems to fail. But the real battle was happening aboard Veltar's ship. Captain Jake Morrison had been planning his escape for 3 days. He had studied the ship's layout and learned its weaknesses. When the battle began and the ship's systems started failing, Jake saw his chance. The door to their prison cell opened automatically when the power fluctuated. Now, he whispered to his team. Ben Taylor had hidden a small transmitter in his shoe. It was made from parts he had pulled out of his communication device. When the alien jamming systems failed for a few seconds, he sent a signal to Admiral Sullivan. Engineer Ray Collins had been watching the ship's systems. He noticed that everything was connected. When one system failed, it affected others. The aliens had built their technology to be efficient, but that made it fragile. Jake Ray said, "If we can get to their main reactor, I think I can turn there." own power system against them. Lisa Parker had been studying the alien guards. Their weapons were powered by the same energy system as the ship. When the ship's power fluctuated, the weapons stopped working. They moved through the corridors like shadows. The ship was in chaos. Alien crew members ran back and forth trying to fix systems that kept failing. They did not notice for humans sneaking toward the reactor core. Back on Earth, the battle was reaching its peak. The aliens had expected easy victory. Instead, they faced something they had never seen before. Humans were not fighting like soldiers. They were fighting like humans. Every person was a weapon carrier. Every building was a fortress. Every street was a battlefield. The aliens could not understand it. Sir Veltar's aide reported, "We have lost contact with 40% of our fleet. The remaining ships report massive system failures."
How is this possible?
"We are the most advanced military force in the galaxy." "The humans are not fighting like a military force, sir. They're fighting like ... like what? Like every single one of them is personally angry at us." That was exactly what was happening. The aliens had threatened Earth's children. They had demanded surrender. They had tried to enslave humanity. Every human took that personally. A grandmother in Chicago threw modified smoke grenades that contained frequency disruptors. A teenage boy in Berlin used a souped-up remote control helicopter to deliver electromagnetic bombs. A housewife in Sydney had turned her vacuum cleaner into a device that could suck the air out of alien breathing apparatus. None of these weapons should have worked against advanced alien technology. But they did work because humans had studied the enemy and found their weakness. The aliens relied too much on their technology. When that technology failed, they had no backup plan. Meanwhile, Jake and his team reached the reactor core. The room was huge and filled with glowing machinery. Energy flowed through transparent tubes like liquid light. "This is it," Ray said. "Their whole fleet draws power from this reactor. If I can modify the energy output, I can send a signal through their network that will shut down every ship." "Can you do it?" Jake asked. "Maybe, but I need time and tools." Lisa looked around the room. "What about these?" She pointed to some maintenance equipment left by alien engineers. Ray studied the tools. They were designed for alien hands, but he could use them. Perfect. "Jake, I need you to watch the door." "Ben, help me with these power couplings." As Ray worked, the battle on Earth continued. The humans were winning, but it was not easy. Some alien ships were fighting back effectively. Some humans were getting hurt, but something amazing was happening. All over the world, people were helping each other. Children were carrying supplies to adults. Elderly people were sharing their knowledge with young fighters. Everyone was working together. The aliens had studied human wars. They had seen humans fight each other. But they had never seen humans unite against a common enemy. They had never seen 7 billion people decide to fight back at the same time. "Almost done," Ray said. His hands moved quickly over the alien machinery. "When I activate this, it will send a cascade failure through their entire fleet. But the signal needs to reach every ship at once. Will it work?" Jake asked. "In human hands, anything can be weaponized," Ray replied with a grin. "Even their own reactor?" He pressed the final control. Energy surged through the ship's systems and out to the fleet. Every alien ship suddenly found its power systems turning against it. On Earth, humans looked up to see the alien ships losing altitude. Their shields failed. Their weapons went silent. Their mighty invasion fleet was falling from the sky. Defeated by kitchen appliances and garage experiments, Veltar stood on his bridge and watched his fleet fall apart. "Retreat," he ordered. "Signal all remaining ships. We withdraw immediately." But the retreat was not orderly. It was a desperate flight from an enemy. The aliens finally understood they had underestimated completely. The energy wave from the reactor spread through the alien fleet like wildfire. Ship after ship lost power as their own systems turned against them. Captain Jake Morrison felt the mothership shudder and tilt as its engines failed. "It's working," Ray Collins said with excitement. "The cascade failure is spreading to every ship in the fleet." But their celebration was short. Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside the reactor room. What we did, Ben Taylor said, looking at his improvised scanner. I'm detecting alien troops heading this way. Jake looked around the reactor room. They'd completed their mission, but now they were trapped. The reactor continued to send disruptive signals to the fleet, but it would take time for all the ships to fail completely. Can we get out of here? Jake asked. Not the way we came, Lisa Parker replied, checking the corridor. They've sealed off our escape route. On Earth below, the battle was turning into a rout. The alien ships that had seemed so powerful were now falling from the sky like broken toys. But the humans were not just watching, they were helping to finish the job. In New York, Rico Gonzalez emerged from the subway tunnels, his electromagnetic. Fans had done their work, but he was not finished. He carried a device that looked like a modified leaf blower. Inside, it contained a mixture that Martha Davis had developed in her garage. Laboratory. The nearest alien ship was trying to land in Central Park. Its shields were down, and its engines were sputtering. Rico aimed his device at the ship and pulled. The trigger, a cloud of metallic particles shot out and covered the ship's hull. Within seconds, the particles began to react with the alien metal. The ship's outer surface started to corrode and spark. That's for threatening my planet, Rico said with satisfaction. All over the city, similar scenes were playing out. Humans, who had spent days preparing improvised weapons, were now using them with deadly effect. The aliens had expected to face a coordinated military response. Instead, they faced millions of individual fighters, each with their own unique weapons. Librarian. Nancy Clark had set up her command post in the library. She coordinated neighborhood defense groups using a network of ham radios. Her electromagnetic backpack had evolved into something much more sophisticated. Hey, Team 7, there's a damaged ship trying to escape over Brooklyn, she said into her radio. Can you intercept? On our way, came the reply. Team 7 was a group of teenagers who had modified their skateboards into mobile weapons platforms. They could move fast through the streets and hit targets that larger groups could not reach. Meanwhile, Joey Parker continued his motorcycle runs through the city. His thermal bags now contained upgraded versions of Dr. Wright's disruptors. But he had added his own improvements. The devices could now target specific alien systems. He pulled up next to a crashed ship and activated one of his devices. The alien emergency systems shut down immediately. The aliens inside would have to come out or suffocate. 3 aliens stumbled out of the ship, coughing and confused. They raised their weapons, but the weapons would not fire. The electromagnetic interference had fried their power systems. Hands up, Joey said, pointing what looked like a modified kitchen blender at them. The aliens did not know that the blender was harmless. They raised their hands. Back on the mothership, Jake and his team were fighting for their lives. The aliens had found them in the reactor room. But the reactor room was full of energy conduits and machinery that Ray had modified. Every surface was now a potential weapon. Duck Ray shouted and flipped a switch. A wave of energy pulsed through the room. Oh. The alien soldiers' weapons overloaded and exploded in their hands. Their armor began to spark and smoke. But more aliens were coming. They wore different armor that seemed to resist the electromagnetic effects. They adapted, Lisa observed. Their commanders must have figured out what we're doing. Jake looked around desperately. They needed a way out, but they were surrounded. Then he noticed something. The aliens' new armor protected them from electromagnetic attacks, but it made them heavier and slower. Ben, can you overload the ship's gravity systems? Ben looked at his improvised controls. Maybe. Give me 30 seconds. Jake picked up a piece of alien machinery that had been damaged in the energy pulse. It was heavy and had sharp edges. In human hands, even broken alien technology could be a weapon. Ray, Lisa, grab anything you can use as a club when Ben cuts. The gravity. We fight our way out the old-fashioned way. The aliens advanced slowly, confident in their protective armor. They did not expect the humans to attack with primitive melee weapons. Now, Ben shouted. The gravity in the room suddenly cut to 1/6 normal. The heavily armored aliens stumbled and floated awkwardly. The humans, who were used to Earth's gravity, moved like dancers in comparison. Jake swung his improvised club. At the nearest alien, impact sent the alien floating toward the ceiling. Lisa used a damaged energy conduit like a sword, striking at the aliens' joints where their armor was weakest. The fight was chaotic and desperate, but the humans had one advantage: they were used to improvising. Every broken piece of machinery became a weapon. Every energy conduit became a rope or whip. On Earth, the alien retreat was becoming a panic. Ship after ship was either crashing or fleeing into space. The humans pressed their advantage relentlessly. In London, Alfred Hughes had expanded his sprinkler system to cover half the city. Any alien technology that entered the area immediately began to malfunction. Alien soldiers who tried to establish landing zones found their equipment failing within minutes. In Tokyo, Kenji Tanaka had modified his pachinko machines into automated defense systems. They fired thousands of electromagnetic pellets at any alien aircraft that came within range. The aliens could not approach the city, but the most devastating attacks were coming from unexpected places. A group of children in Berlin had turned their school science lab into a weapons factory. Their teacher, a former chemistry professor, helped them create compounds that could eat through alien hull materials. The children launched their attacks, using toy rockets and remote control airplanes. To the aliens, it looked like they were being defeated by children's toys. The psychological effect was devastating. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the battle from her command center. Reports were coming in from around the world. The humans were winning, but the cost was high. Many cities had been damaged. Many people had been hurt. Admiral Harade reported, "We're receiving a signal from Captain Morrison. He's aboard the, alien mothership." Kate grabbed the communication device. "Jake, what's your status?" "We've taken control of the reactor." Jake's voice crackled through the interference, "but we're trapped. The ship is starting to break apart from the cascade. Failure. Can you get to an escape pod?" "We're trying. But Kate, you need to know something. This invasion was just a test. The aliens have much larger fleets. If we don't convince them that attacking Earth is a bad idea, they'll be back with everything." They have. Kate felt a chill. They had won this battle, but the war might just be beginning. On the mothership, Jake and his team had fought their way to the escape pod bay. Behind them, the reactor room was collapsing as the cascade failure spread through the ship's systems. There, Lisa pointed to an escape pod that looked intact. They ran for it as the ship shook around them. Ray quickly figured out the alien controls and started the launch sequence. "Ambassador Veltar, to all human prisoners," a voice echoed through the ship's speakers, "you have doomed your species. The Galactic Collective will not tolerate this resistance. We will return with 1,000 ships." Jake grabbed the communication system. "Ambassador, you still don't understand us. We just defeated your fleet with kitchen appliances and garage experiments. Imagine what we'll have ready when you come back." There was silence for a moment. Then Veltar spoke again, but his voice sounded different, uncertain. "This is not over, human." "No," Jake replied as their escape pod launched toward Earth. "Just beginning, and you're going to learn why, in human hands, anything can be weaponized." The escape pod fell toward Earth as the alien mothership broke apart above them. Around the world, the last alien ships were fleeing into space, carrying news of their defeat back to the Galactic Collective. Humanity had won its first interstellar war. But Jake was right. This was just the beginning. 6 months after the invasion, Captain Jake Morrison stood in a place he had never expected to see. The Galactic Council Station was a massive structure floating in space between the stars. It was bigger than any human city and filled with creatures. From dozens of different worlds, Jake wore his best uniform, but he felt out of place among the aliens. They all looked at him with a mixture of fear and curiosity. News of humanity's victory over the Zephyrians had spread throughout the galaxy like wildfire. "Captain Morrison," said the council speaker, a tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms, "we welcome you to speak for your species." Jake walked to the center of the Great Hall. Around him sat representatives from 50 different worlds. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Jake could not figure out how they moved or breathed. "Thank you for inviting me," Jake said. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. "I bring greetings from Earth and all humanity." A creature that looked like a giant Insect clicked its mandibles. We have heard disturbing reports about your species. You defeated the Zephyrian Empire using primitive weapons. Not primitive, Jake replied. Creative. Another alien, this one covered in scales, spoke up. The Zephyrians had the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. How did you defeat them with household items? Jake smiled. That's exactly why we won. You all think in terms of advanced technology. We think in terms of solutions. When you gave us a problem, we solved it. Back on Earth, the world had changed dramatically. Admiral Kate Sullivan now commanded the newly formed Space Defense Corps. Their headquarters was built inside an old shopping mall that had been converted into a weapons research facility. The most unusual thing about the facility was its staff. Military officers worked alongside janitors, teachers, mechanics, and artists. Anyone who had contributed to the victory over the aliens was now part of Earth's defense team. Carl Jenkins had his own laboratory where he taught soldiers how to see weapons in everyday objects. His most popular class was called Advanced Improvisation. Remember, Carl told his students, the aliens will expect us to use the same tricks twice, so we need to stay ahead of them. What looks harmless but could disable a spaceship? A young soldier raised her hand. A bag of flour? Good start? Why? If you spread it in the air and add a spark, it explodes. Excellent. But how do you get it to a spaceship? An older man in the back spoke up. Balloons. Fill balloons with flour and use them like bombs. Carl grinned. Perfect. See? In human hands, even party decorations become weapons. Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Wright ran the Advanced Research Division. Her team studied captured alien technology, but not to copy it. They wanted to find new ways to defeat it. The next invasion will be different, she told her staff. They'll have shields that resist electromagnetic attacks. They'll have better armor. They'll be prepared for our tricks. So what do we do? Asked Martha Davis. The former high school teacher was now head of chemical warfare development. Develop new tricks, and we make sure that every human on Earth can contribute to the defense. That was humanity's greatest advantage. While other species had professional armies, humans had turned their entire population into potential defenders. Children learned about frequencies in school. Grandparents shared recipes for explosive compounds. Factory workers designed new weapons. During their lunch breaks, the aliens had studied human wars, but they had missed something important. In human wars, soldiers fought other soldiers. In the alien invasion, civilians had fought alongside military forces. Every human was a combatant. Back at the Galactic Council, Jake was explaining this concept to the assembled aliens. You see, us is a military threat, he said. But that's not what we are. We're a species that refuses to give up. When you threaten our families, our children, our home, every single one of us becomes dangerous. The council speaker looked uncomfortable. Captain Morrison, we understand that your species has unique capabilities. That is why we are prepared to offer you protected status within the collective. Protected status? Yes, you would be under our guidance and protection. In exchange, you would agree to limit your military development and accept peacekeeping forces on your world. Jake laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber and made several aliens flinch. You're still trying to control us? You've just learned that we can turn kitchen appliances into weapons that can defeat your best technology, and your solution is to try to disarm us? A new voice spoke from the gallery. Perhaps we should discuss the human threat more seriously. Jake turned to see Ambassador Veltar entering the chamber. The Zephyrian looked older and more tired than when Jake had first met him. His perfect confidence was gone. Ambassador Veltar, the council speaker said, You are not invited to address the council. I have new information about the human threat, Veltar replied. Intelligence that the council needs to hear. Jake watched as Veltar approached the speaking platform. The alien's eyes met his, and Jake saw something unexpected there. Not hatred, but respect. Honorable council members, Veltar began. I have studied the human defense of their world for 6 months. I have analyzed their weapons, their tactics, and their strategy. Have one conclusion. He paused and looked directly at Jake. We cannot defeat them. Gasps and clicks and chirps filled the chamber as the aliens reacted to this statement. "Explain," demanded the council speaker. "Every species we have encountered fights with their best weapons and their best soldiers. When we defeat their military, they surrender. But humans do not work this way." Veltar activated a holographic display showing Earth. "Look at their response to our invasion. We destroyed their conventional military capabilities in the first hour. According to our models, they should have surrendered immediately. Instead, they became more dangerous." The hologram showed scenes from the battle: children with slingshots, grandmothers with chemical weapons, office workers with electromagnetic devices. They turned their entire population into combatants. Worse, they enjoyed it. They were excited about finding new ways to defeat us. Fighting us made them stronger, not weaker. Jake nodded. "He's right. You threatened our world, so we became better at defending it. You come back with bigger ships, we'll find bigger weapons. If you bring energy shields, we'll invent new ways to break them." "That is exactly the problem," Veltar continued. "Humans improve when they are challenged. They innovate when they are threatened. They unite when they have a common enemy. Fighting them only makes them more dangerous." The council speaker looked worried. "What do you recommend?" "Leave them alone," Veltar said simply. "The human species is like a sleeping volcano. It looks peaceful until you disturb it. Then it erupts and destroys everything around it." Jake stepped forward. "The ambassador is wise, but I have a better idea." He looked around the chamber at all the alien faces, staring at him. "Instead of trying to control us or avoid us, why not work with us? You have knowledge and technology. We have creativity and problem-solving skills. Together, we could accomplish amazing things." An alien that looked like a walking tree spoke up. "What about your violent nature? Your species is constantly at war with itself." "That's true," Jake admitted. "But do you know why we fight each other? Primitive instincts? No. We fight because we get bored. Give us interesting problems to solve, and we'll stop fighting each other. We'll focus on solving those problems instead." Jake paused and looked around the chamber again. "Right now, somewhere in this galaxy, there's probably a species that needs help. It's pirates attacking their trade routes. It's a natural disaster they can't handle. A scientific problem they can't solve. Send us. We'll find a solution." The council speaker was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. "You are proposing that humanity become the collective's problem solvers. We're proposing that humanity become your partners. Equal partners, not subjects." As Jake spoke, his communication device beeped. He looked at it and smiled. "Speaking of problems, I just received a message from Earth. We've been contacted by a species called the Karathi. They're being attacked by pirates, and their conventional weapons aren't working. They're asking for human assistance." Up at the council, "Should I tell them we're busy talking, or should we go solve their problem?" The chamber erupted in discussion. Aliens talked excitedly in dozens of different languages. Finally, the council speaker called for order. "Captain Morrison, the council will consider your proposal. But first, we would like to observe how your species handles this Korathi situation." Jake grinned. "Perfect. Admiral Sullivan is already loading our ships with coffee makers, vacuum cleaners, and garden tools. We should have the pirate problem solved by next week." As he prepared to leave the station, Jake heard whispers following him through the corridors. The words were in different alien languages, but they all meant the same thing. In human hands, anything can be weaponized. The phrase had become humanity's unofficial motto throughout the galaxy. It was spoken with fear by enemies and with hope by those who needed help. Jake smiled as his shuttle left the station. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy. They were no longer the primitive species that needed protection. They were the ones others called when the impossible needed to be done.